The slap landed before I even saw her hand move. My cheek exploded in burning pain as I stumbled backward on my front porch, my grocery bags spilling across the wooden planks. My daughter screamed from inside the house. My son ran to the window. "You filthy homewrecker!" Kayla shrieked, her face twisted with rage. My ex-husband Paul's new wife stood on my property, trembling with fury, her perfectly manicured nails still raised like claws. "You think I don't know? You think I'm stupid?" Behind her, Paul's car sat in my driveway. He'd been inside my house, shirtless, half-dressed, leaving through my back door like a coward while his wife confronted me in front of my children and every neighbor on the street. Mrs. Patterson from next door stood frozen on her lawn, phone already recording. The Johnsons stopped their evening walk to stare. Even the teenagers across the street paused their basketball game to watch the show. My face burned, not just from the slap, but from the humiliation. The accusation. The public shame of being called a homewrecker in my own front yard by the woman who'd helped my husband leave me 3 years ago. But as Kayla stood there, chest heaving, mascara running, I felt something unexpected, a cold, calculated smile spreading across my face. She had no idea what I'd been planning. No idea what was coming. That night, after I'd calmed my children and cleaned up the scattered groceries, Paul showed up at my door. He had the audacity to look apologetic, like he was the victim in this scenario. "Monica, I'm so sorry," he whispered, glancing nervously at his car parked a block away this time. "Kayla's losing her mind. She's become so jealous, so paranoid. It's not healthy." I leaned against my doorframe, arms crossed. "Is she paranoid, Paul? Or is she right?" He stepped closer, and I smelled his cologne, the expensive kind Kayla probably bought him. "You know what we have. What we've always had." She could never understand it. When he kissed me, I didn't push him away. Not yet. This was part of the plan now, the plan that had crystallized the moment Kayla's hand connected with my face. I kissed him back, letting him think he'd won something. "Does she know you're here?" I whispered against his lips. "She thinks I'm at the gym." He pulled me closer. "I couldn't stay away from you. I never could." I smiled into his shoulder, thinking about Kayla sitting at home, suspicious and spiraling. "Let her feel what I felt," I murmured. Paul thought I meant when he left me. He had no idea I meant something much darker, much more permanent. Revenge wasn't a moment, it was a process. And I'd just begun. Over the next 2 weeks, Paul started staying overnight. Not every night, that would be too obvious. But 2, sometimes 3 nights a week, he'd show up after his business dinners, or late meetings, and slip into my bed like we'd never been divorced. My kids were confused at first. "Why is Dad here so much?" my 9-year-old daughter Emma asked. "He's just visiting more," I said smoothly. "Spending time with you guys." She accepted this because children want to believe their parents might reconcile. My 11-year-old son Tyler was more suspicious but stayed quiet. He'd learned during the divorce that asking questions only led to uncomfortable answers. Meanwhile, Kayla's calls became increasingly frantic. She'd phone at all hours, screaming accusations. "I know he's with you, you witch. You stole my husband." I recorded every single call. Every threatening voicemail. Every text message that bordered on harassment. My phone became an evidence vault, each notification another nail in Kayla's coffin. One night, Paul lay beside me scrolling through his phone while I pretended to sleep. I watched through barely open eyes as he deleted message after message from Kayla. Desperate pleas. Angry demands. Heartbroken questions about why he wasn't coming home. The irony was delicious. 3 years ago, he'd done this to me. Now I was the other woman, and Kayla was learning what it felt like to be replaced. Paul brought me gifts. Expensive ones. A Tiffany bracelet. Designer handbags. A silk scarf that cost more than my monthly groceries. "You deserve nice things," he'd say, fastening the bracelet around my wrist. I should have appreciated you more when we were married. The bracelet caught the light beautifully. I admired it for a full minute before casually checking the shopping bag he'd left on my counter. Inside, crumpled at the bottom, was a receipt. Purchased by Kayla Morrison, card ending in 4782. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing out loud. Kayla had bought this bracelet, probably for herself, probably as some desperate attempt to win her husband's affection back, and Paul had stolen it and given it to me. The cruelty was breathtaking. And I wore that bracelet every single day, making sure to take photos where it was visible, knowing somehow Kayla would see. Because women like Kayla always looked. Always tortured themselves by checking their rivals' social media, searching for proof of what they already suspected. That night, I texted Paul a photo of my wrist wearing the bracelet. "Thank you for always thinking of me." He responded with a heart emoji. Kayla probably saw that text notification flash across his phone screen. I hoped she did. I hoped it hurt exactly as much as seeing her text my husband during our marriage had hurt me. I found the message on my windshield one cold Tuesday morning. Homewrecker, scratched deep into the paint of my Toyota, the letters jagged and angry, clearly carved with a key or maybe a knife. Emma saw it first. "Mom, what happened to your car?" I pulled her away quickly, shielding her view. "Just some vandalism, baby. Don't worry about it." But I wasn't worried. I was calculating. Because my home security system, the one I'd installed 6 months ago specifically for situations like this, had captured everything. Kayla's white Mercedes pulling up at 2:47 a.m. Her climbing out in dark clothes. The flash of metal in her hand. 23 seconds of her destroying my property. I downloaded the footage, backed it up to 3 different cloud drives, and saved it to a USB drive I locked in my safe. But I didn't call the police. Not yet. "Patience, Monica," I whispered to myself, looking at Kayla's rage-filled face frozen on my computer screen. When Paul saw the damage that evening, he was appropriately outraged. "I'll pay for the repairs." "God, she's completely lost it." "It's not about the money," I said softly. "It's about her not respecting boundaries. I'll talk to her." "Will you?" I turned to face him. "Because talking hasn't stopped her yet." He had no answer for that. We both knew Kayla would only escalate. And that was exactly what I was counting on. I stared at the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test for a long time. My hands shook, not from shock, but from the sheer perfect timing of it all. Pregnant. With Paul's baby. 3 years after our divorce. I took a photo of the test and sent it to Paul with no caption, no explanation. Just the image. Then I turned off my phone and waited. He showed up 20 minutes later, breathless, eyes wild. "Is that real? Are you pregnant?" "Yes." I stood in my kitchen, watching him process this information. Watching the panic, the excitement, the calculation all flash across his face in rapid succession. "Does Kayla?" "No one knows but you," I interrupted. "Yet." "Monica." He grabbed my shoulders. "You can't tell her." "Not now. She's already unstable. This would destroy her." I tilted my head, studying him. "Would it? Or would it just destroy your comfortable situation where you get to have both of us?" "That's not fair." "No," I agreed. "It's really not. But life rarely is, Paul. You taught me that when you left me for her." He pulled me close, one hand moving to my still flat stomach. "This changes everything." "Does it?" I smiled against his chest. "Because from where I'm standing, it just makes everything more complicated." Complicated. That was a nice word for catastrophic. Because this baby wasn't an accident, I'd stopped taking my pills 6 weeks ago. This baby was ammunition. Evidence. The final proof that would shatter whatever was left of Paul's marriage. The dinner invitation came via text, Let's talk like adults. Coffee shop on Maple Street. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Just us. Kayla. I almost declined. But curiosity won. I wanted to see her face. Wanted to watch her try to negotiate with a woman who'd already won. She was waiting when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with 2 coffees already ordered. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, but I could see the cracks. The exhaustion around her eyes. The way her hands trembled slightly as she pushed a cup toward me. I'm not here to fight, she said immediately. I just need to understand. What did I do wrong? I sipped the coffee, decaf now, because of the baby she didn't know about. This isn't about you doing anything wrong. Then what is it? Her voice cracked. You had him. You were married to him. Why couldn't you just let him go? I did let him go, I replied calmly. You're the one who married him. I'm just existing. If he's choosing to come around, that's between you and him. You're lying. She leaned forward. You must have bewitched him somehow. Used some kind of manipulation. Because the Paul the first married would never. Never what? Cheat. I laughed. Kayla, how do you think you got him? Her face went scarlet. That was different. Was it? I set down my cup. Maybe you just married someone else's man and convinced yourself it was destiny. Maybe you're finally realizing that men who cheat with you will cheat on you. She stood abruptly, tears streaming down her face. You're evil. No, I said softly. I'm just done being the victim in this story. Paul's confession started during pillow talk. Small things at first, admissions about affairs during our marriage I'd suspected but never confirmed. Then bigger revelations. Kayla's been seeing someone else, he admitted one night, voice slurred from whiskey. My business partner, Troy. I found texts. I turned to look at him in the darkness. Are you sure? Pretty sure. She denies it, but the messages are pretty clear. He laughed bitterly. Ironic, right? She's terrified I'm cheating on her while she's actually cheating on me. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. Yet. He rolled over, pulling me closer. I just need to figure out my next move. I kept my voice recorder running on my nightstand, hidden under a book. Every word documented. Every confession saved. Paul had always been a talker when he was drunk, and I'd learned to encourage it, to ask the right questions, to extract information like pulling teeth. Do you regret leaving me? I asked softly. Long silence. Then, sometimes. You never demanded as much. Never needed constant reassurance. Kayla's exhausting. Then why did you leave? Because she was new. Exciting. Different. He sighed. Now she's just, there. Familiar. Like you were. The honesty was brutal. But it was also perfect. Because every word he spoke was evidence of his character. Proof that he'd never actually changed, never actually grown, just swapped one wife for another and would eventually do it again. The night Kayla threw Paul out, I got the call at 11 p.m. Can I crash at yours tonight? She changed the locks. I hesitated just long enough to make him nervous. The kids are asleep, Paul. Please. I have nowhere else to go. That was a lie, he had parents, siblings, friends with spare rooms. But I said, fine. Use the guest room. He showed up with 2 suitcases. Just temporary, he claimed. Until she calms down. But temporary became a week. Then 2 weeks. Then a month. Paul was living with me again, falling back into domestic routines like the divorce had never happened. Helping with homework. Cooking dinner. Sleeping in my bed more nights than not. Emma and Tyler were thriving. I like having Dad here, Emma admitted. Are you guys getting back together? I don't know, baby. We're just figuring things out." But the neighbors were less supportive. I felt their stares during school pickup. Heard their whispers at the grocery store. Saw the judgment in every tight smile and awkward greeting. Mrs. Patterson stopped talking to me entirely after she saw Paul's car in my driveway every morning. The church women I used to have coffee with suddenly had scheduling conflicts whenever I tried to make plans. I became the neighborhood scandal. The divorced woman who stole back her ex-husband. The homewrecker Kayla had accused me of being. And I couldn't care less. Because their judgment was nothing compared to the satisfaction of watching Kayla's perfect life crumble. Someone left a Bible on my porch with a note tucked inside, "Repent. Adultery is a sin." Proverbs 6 verse 32. I read the verse, "But a man who commits adultery has no sense, whoever does so destroys himself." The irony made me laugh out loud. Because wasn't Paul the one committing adultery? Wasn't he the one bouncing between two women, making promises he'd never keep? But no, the church women blamed me. Because it's always easier to blame the woman. I burned the note in my kitchen sink, watching the paper curl and blacken. Then I took the Bible, a nice leather-bound edition someone had probably paid good money for, and donated it to the library book sale. "Judge not," I muttered, "lest ye be judged." Paul found me in the kitchen, staring at the ashes in the sink. "What's that?" "Someone's concern for my eternal soul," I replied. "Nothing important." He wrapped his arms around me from behind. "You know I don't care what people think. Don't you?" I turned in his embrace. "Because 3 years ago, you cared very much what people thought. Cared enough to make our divorce as public and humiliating as possible. I was different then." "No," I said quietly. "You were exactly the same. You just had different priorities." That night, I updated my evidence files. Photos of the Bible and note. Screenshots of nasty comments on my social media. Documentation of the ongoing harassment and social ostracization. Not because I cared about defending myself. But because when this all inevitably exploded, and it would, I wanted everyone to remember who'd been cruel first. The sound of shattering glass woke me at 2 a.m. Paul bolted upright beside me, and we rushed to the window to see Kayla standing in my driveway, baseball bat in hand, Paul's car windshield destroyed into a spider web of cracks. "You bastard," she screamed at my house. "You coward. Come out here and face me." I grabbed my phone calmly while Paul fumbled for his clothes. "Don't go out there," I said. "I have to." "No. You call the police. Let them handle it." I was already dialing, my voice steady as I reported the property destruction. "Yes, I have it on camera." "Yes, she's still on the property. Please hurry." Kayla took another swing at the car, destroying the driver's side window this time. Glass rained onto my driveway. She was crying and screaming simultaneously, completely unhinged. When the police arrived 6 minutes later, she was sitting on my lawn, bat beside her, makeup streaming down her face. They arrested her for criminal property damage, and she didn't resist. Just kept crying, "He ruined my life. He ruined everything." At the station, Paul and I gave our statements. The officer looked at us with thinly veiled judgment. Clearly, he'd heard some version of this domestic drama before, but he processed the report professionally. "Do you want to press charges?" he asked Paul. Paul looked at me. I nodded slightly. "Yes," he said. "She needs help." At the police station, Kayla looked smaller somehow. Diminished. Her perfect hair was tangled, her designer clothes rumpled. She'd been crying for hours. When they brought her out to discuss bail, she saw Paul and immediately started begging. "Please. Please don't do this. I'll get therapy. I'll do whatever you want. Just drop the charges." Paul's voice was ice. "You destroyed my car. You've been harassing Monica. You've lost control. You need help, Kayla. I lost control? She laughed hysterically. You moved in with your ex-wife. You've been sleeping with her for months. And I'm the one who needs help? You're the one who got arrested, he said coldly. I watched her break down completely, mascara running in black streams down her face, body shaking with sobs. For just a second, one brief, traitorous second, I felt something like pity. She'd been where I was once. The confident new wife, certain she'd won the grand prize. Not realizing that winning Paul wasn't a prize at all but a curse that recycled itself every few years. But then I remembered her smirking at me during the divorce proceedings. Remembered her parading Paul around town like a trophy. Remembered the slap on my porch. The pity evaporated. Come on, I said to Paul, touching his arm. Let's go home. Kayla's eyes widened at the word home. The implication that Paul's home was now with me, not her. That she'd been replaced as thoroughly as she'd once replaced me. We left her crying in that police station, and I didn't look back. Kayla's public apology appeared on Facebook the next morning. A long, rambling post about mental health struggles and behavior I'm not proud of and asking for grace during this difficult time. The comments section exploded. Her friends offered support. Strangers offered judgment. Everyone had an opinion about the messy divorce playing out on social media. Then Paul commented, "Let's all move forward with compassion and healing." The internet had a field day. Reddit threads analyzed every word. Twitter accounts dissected the drama. A local gossip blog picked up the story, "Suburban love triangle ends in arrest." Kayla's face, tear-stained, makeup smeared, mid-breakdown, was suddenly everywhere. Her carefully curated social media presence, all those perfect couple photos and inspirational quotes, now looked like tragic foreshadowing. I didn't comment publicly. Didn't need to. My silence was its own statement. While Kayla desperately tried to control the narrative, I simply existed, secure in my victory. That night, Paul scrolled through the comments on his phone. People are being brutal to her. People love watching the mighty fall, I observed. You don't feel bad at all, do you? I met his eyes. Should I? After everything she put me through during our divorce? After she called me a homewrecker in front of my children? He had no response. Because we both knew the answer. Kayla was reaping exactly what she'd sown. And I was just the one who'd made sure she reaped it publicly. Mom, are you and Dad back together? Tyler's question came during breakfast, casual but loaded. Emma stopped eating to hear my answer. I chose my words carefully. We're understanding each other better than we have in a long time. But are you together? He pressed. It's complicated, sweetie. That's not an answer. He was right. But what was I supposed to say? That I was pregnant with their father's baby while he was still technically married to someone else? That this wasn't reconciliation but revenge disguised as romance? Your dad and I are figuring things out, I said finally. But our relationship doesn't change how much we both love you. Emma seemed satisfied. Tyler didn't. He studied me with eyes too old for 11, seeing more than I wanted him to see. Just don't let him hurt you again, he said quietly. The words hit me harder than they should have. Because my son had watched his father leave us once, had heard me crying in the bathroom late at night, had seen me struggle through the aftermath of betrayal. And now he was watching me deliberately walk back into the same fire. Guilt twisted in my chest, the first real guilt I'd felt since this all started. Not guilt over Kayla. She deserved everything she got. But guilt over my children, who were caught in a cycle I was perpetuating. I shoved the feeling down. Buried it deep. Because I'd come too far to let conscience ruin my plans now. Emma's 12th birthday party was small, just family and a few close friends. Paul helped me set up decorations, looking domestic and devoted, playing the role of present father with enthusiasm. When the candles were lit and everyone sang, "Happy Birthday," Paul's phone rang. The caller ID flashed, Kayla. I plucked the phone from his hand before he could react. Hello, Kayla. Silence. Then a sharp intake of breath. Let me talk to Paul. He's busy, I said cheerfully. We're cutting our daughter's birthday cake. You remember Emma, right? The stepdaughter you never bothered getting to know? You witch. Have a lovely evening. I ended the call and handed the phone back to Paul, whose face had gone pale. Monica, that was necessary? I smiled at our guests, who were pretending not to have heard. Yes, it was. Within an hour, Kayla had called 16 more times. Texted 43 messages. Each one more unhinged than the last. Threats. Accusations. Desperate pleas. I saved them all. Added them to my growing evidence file. Because Kayla's instability wasn't just satisfying to witness, it was legally useful. Every outburst, every threatening message, every public meltdown made her look worse and me look more reasonable. That night, Emma hugged me extra tight. Thanks for the best birthday, Mom. Anything for you, baby. But the guilt was back, whispering that using my daughter's birthday as a battlefield wasn't anything for her at all. The restraining order arrived via certified mail. Kayla was claiming I was harassing her, stalking her, threatening her safety. The document was 10 pages of accusations, half of them completely fabricated. I called my lawyer immediately. She's claiming what? That you've been sending threatening messages, driving past her house, making her fear for her safety. My lawyer, Helen, sounded skeptical. Do you have evidence to the contrary? Oh, I have evidence. I pulled out my files, every recording, every screenshot, every timestamp showing that Kayla had been the aggressor in every situation. She's been harassing me for months. Helen reviewed everything, her expression shifting from concern to satisfaction. This is actually perfect. Her claims are demonstrably false, and we can prove it. We might even be able to get a protective order against her. The restraining order hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks out. In the meantime, I was technically barred from contacting Kayla or coming within 500 feet of her property. That night, I burned Kayla's legal papers in my sink, symbolic, petty, but deeply satisfying. Paul watched nervously. You're taking this too calmly. Because I'm not worried, I replied. Truth is on my side. Is it? He looked at me strangely. Sometimes I wonder if anyone's telling the truth anymore. I smiled. The truth is whatever you can prove. And I can prove everything. The explosion lit up the night sky. I was watching TV when my phone buzzed with a news alert. Car fire on Riverside Drive. Kayla's address. I clicked the link, my heart racing, and saw footage of her Mercedes engulfed in flames in her driveway. Fire trucks surrounded the property. Investigators were already on scene. Paul grabbed the phone from my hands. Jesus Christ. Is she okay? The article doesn't say. I watched his face, genuine panic, genuine concern. He still cared about her on some level. The realization stung more than I wanted to admit. By morning, rumors spread, arson. Deliberate sabotage. Someone had cut her brake lines and rigged an explosive device. Kayla was physically unharmed but emotionally destroyed, convinced someone was trying to kill her. And she knew exactly who to blame. My phone rang. Helen, my lawyer. Monica, where were you last night between 8 and 10 p.m.? Home. With Paul and my kids. Why? Kayla's claiming you're responsible for the car explosion. Police want to question you. That's insane. I know. But you need an alibi. Helen's voice was serious. This just became very serious very fast. I gave my statement at the police station, Paul and my children corroborating that I'd been home all evening. Security footage from my neighbor's cameras confirmed it. I had a complete alibi. But when the detective asked directly, "Did you have anything to do with this?" I paused just long enough to plant doubt. "No," I said finally. But I won't deny being glad she's scared. After everything she's done to me? She deserves to feel afraid. Paul's suspension from work came via email. The subject line read, "Disciplinary action pending investigation." Someone, Kayla, obviously, had leaked details of his affair to HR, screenshots of text messages, hotel receipts, evidence of him using company time and resources to meet with me. His employer, a conservative financial firm, took a very dim view of infidelity, especially when it involved deception and misuse of company property. "I'm ruined," Paul said, staring at the email. "They're going to fire me. My career is done." "Then move in fully," I replied calmly. "Stop pretending you have a marriage to go back to. Stop pretending you're going to fix things with Kayla. Just commit to one reality." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay, you're right. Welcome home, Paul." He moved his remaining belongings in that weekend. No more pretending it was temporary. No more hedging his bets. He was here, in my house, sleeping in my bed, playing father to our children. Kayla's lawyer sent increasingly desperate letters. The divorce proceedings accelerated. Asset division became contentious. Kayla wanted everything, claimed she deserved compensation for Paul's infidelity. But the vandalism charges, the harassment evidence, the recorded threats all worked against her. She looked unstable, vindictive, dangerous. Meanwhile, I looked like the patient ex-wife who'd simply taken back what was always hers. I told Kayla about the pregnancy via text. Simple, direct, cruel, "I'm pregnant. It's Paul's. Thought you should know." She showed up at my house 30 minutes later, banging on the door, screaming incoherently. My children were at school, thank God. Paul was at a job interview across town. I opened the door calmly, my hand resting protectively on my barely visible bump. "Can I help you?" "You're lying. You're lying." Kayla's voice was shrill, desperate. "Paul wouldn't, he said we were trying for a baby." "Were you? Or was that just what he told you to keep you hopeful?" I tilted my head. "Because he's been in my bed 3 nights a week for months. Do the math, Kayla." She lunged at me. I stepped back smoothly, phone already recording, capturing her aggression. Neighbors emerged from their houses, witnessing the scene. "You stole my life," she sobbed. "You took everything from me." "No," I said firmly. "You took my husband. I just took him back. There's a difference." Paul's car pulled into the driveway then. He climbed out, saw Kayla, and his expression hardened. "What are you doing here?" "She's pregnant." Kayla turned on him. "Tell me she's lying." Paul looked at me, then at Kayla. "She's the mother of my children. Show some respect." Kayla's eyes widened, then rolled back. She fainted, collapsing onto my front lawn in a dramatic heap. Paramedics came. Neighbors gossiped. The whole scene played out like a soap opera, and I was the director. Kayla filed for divorce 2 days later. The final papers cited irreconcilable differences and infidelity. She wanted the house, the cars, his retirement accounts, everything. She got far less. The vandalism conviction, the harassment evidence, the documented instability all worked against her. Plus, her own affair with Troy had come to light, giving Paul grounds to claim she'd been equally unfaithful. The judge awarded her 30% of their shared assets. Paul kept his retirement accounts, though his career was effectively over. The house would be sold, proceeds split. Kayla walked away from her marriage with less than $100,000 and no prospects. Her social circle had abandoned her. Her reputation was destroyed. Her dream life was rubble. I watched it all unfold with cold satisfaction. This was karma. Not the universe delivering justice, but me engineering it, one calculated move at a time. Paul came home that night exhausted. "It's finally over." "Is it?" I looked at him. Or is it just beginning? Because I was 4 months pregnant. My children were still processing their father's return. The neighborhood still whispered about us. And I was about to have a baby with a man I wasn't sure I even loved anymore, if I ever had. But I'd won. Hadn't I? I'd gotten my revenge. Made Kayla suffer. Proven I could take back what she'd stolen. So why did victory taste so hollow? The courier arrived on a Wednesday afternoon with a large box. No return address, just my name printed on the label. I opened it slowly, knife slicing through packing tape. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper stained with what looked like wine or blood, was a wedding dress. Kayla's wedding dress. I recognized it from the photos that had been plastered all over social media 3 years ago. Except it wasn't a dress anymore. It was shreds. Carefully, meticulously cut into ribbons. Destroyed with the same methodical rage Kayla had applied to everything else. There was no note. No explanation. Just the silent message, "You destroyed my marriage, so I destroyed the symbol of it." I should have been disturbed. Should have called the police, reported the implied threat. Instead, I felt something like respect. Kayla was finally fighting back with something other than hysteria. I hung the shredded dress in my garage on a hanger, spotlit by the overhead light. A trophy. A reminder. A monument to what happens when you underestimate a woman scorned. Paul saw it and went pale. "That's sick, Monica. You need to take that down." "Why?" "It's art. The physical manifestation of a destroyed marriage." I smiled. "Besides, she sent it to me. Would be rude not to display her gift." He didn't push the issue. Maybe because he recognized something in my eyes, something hard and unforgiving that reminded him this wasn't reconciliation. This was something darker. The gossip blog post went viral. Local businessman leaves wife for ex, third baby on the way. Someone had leaked the whole story to Suburban Secrets, a regional gossip site. The article was detailed, accurate, devastating. Photos of Paul's house. Screenshots of Kayla's meltdown posts. My address listed for everyone to see. The comments section was brutal. "This woman is trash. Poor Kayla. She didn't deserve this. The ex-wife is a psycho. Who does this?" Plot twist, they're all terrible people. I read every comment with my morning coffee, my pregnancy making me nauseous but my satisfaction overwhelming the discomfort. Because visibility meant accountability. Meant everyone knew what had happened. Meant Kayla couldn't rewrite history or play victim without people knowing both sides. Paul was mortified. "This is humiliating. Everyone at my old firm is going to see this. Future employers will Google me and find this." "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you became a walking cliché," I replied. My children saw the article too. Tyler confronted me that evening, phone in hand, face furious. "Mom, kids at school are talking about this. About you. About Dad. About everything." Guilt surged again, stronger this time. My revenge was hurting more than just Kayla. It was touching my innocent children, marking them with my choices. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "No, you're not," Tyler said quietly. "You're not sorry at all." He was right. And that terrified me. Paul's confession came late one night, whiskey drunk and tearful. We were lying in bed, his hand on my growing belly, and he just unraveled. "I've been seeing someone else," he admitted. "Not Kayla. Someone new. From the gym." The words hung in the air like poison. I felt my carefully constructed revenge fantasy crack, then shatter completely. "How long?" My voice was eerily calm. 2 months. Maybe 3. He was crying now. "I don't know why I do this. I don't know what's wrong with me. I love you, I swear I love you, but I can't stop myself. I sat up slowly, my pregnant body awkward and heavy. Get out. Monica. Get out. My voice was ice. He left that night, stumbling drunk to his car. I let him drive away, past caring if he made it somewhere safe. Then I sat in the darkness of my bedroom, one hand on my belly, the other clenched into a fist. The revenge that had felt so perfect, so justified, suddenly felt incomplete. Hollow. Because I hadn't just been punishing Kayla, I'd been trying to win back something that had never been worth having in the first place. Paul wasn't a prize. He was a pattern. A cycle of betrayal that repeated itself regardless of who was in his bed. Kayla hadn't stolen him from me, I'd just been the previous iteration in an endless loop. And now I was pregnant with a third child by a man who would never change. Who would always find someone new, someone more exciting, someone who hadn't seen all his flaws yet. I'd gotten my revenge on Kayla. But what had I actually won? I spent 3 days organizing my evidence. Every recording. Every screenshot. Every confession Paul had made, every detail about his affairs, plural now, not just Kayla. All of it compiled into a comprehensive file that told the complete story. Then I sent it anonymously to everyone who mattered. The gossip blog that had covered our story. Paul's former employer. His current job prospects. His professional network on LinkedIn. The local news stations. Even Kayla's divorce lawyer. The story exploded bigger than before. Now it wasn't just a messy love triangle, it was a pattern of predatory behavior. Multiple affairs. Financial deception. Emotional manipulation. Paul's entire character laid bare for public consumption. His company rescinded their job offer. His professional license came under review. His reputation didn't just crumble, it incinerated. And Kayla? The woman I'd spent months destroying? The new evidence actually helped her case. Proved she hadn't been crazy or paranoid, just married to a serial cheater who'd gaslit her into believing she was the problem. Her lawyer filed an amended divorce petition. With the new evidence, she was entitled to much more. Paul's financial security vanished overnight. Troy, Kayla's supposed affair partner, turned out to have been helping her gather evidence against Paul. The affair texts were them coordinating documentation. She hadn't been cheating. She'd been investigating. I'd destroyed an innocent woman based on Paul's lies. And I'd almost destroyed myself in the process. Paul showed up at my door one final time, desperate and defeated. Monica, please. We can start over. Move somewhere new. Leave all this behind. Just you, me, and the kids. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw someone I didn't recognize anymore. Or maybe someone I'd never actually known. A man who cycled through women like clothes, always searching for something new, never satisfied with what he had. No, I said simply. But the baby. The baby will be fine. I've raised 2 children mostly alone already. I can raise 3. I placed my hand on my stomach. What I can't do is keep pretending this is something it's not. I love you. No, you don't. You love the idea of having someone who will tolerate your behavior. But I'm done tolerating it. I'd already packed my important belongings. The moving truck was scheduled for tomorrow. I was leaving, not running away, but walking away with dignity. Taking my children somewhere new, where they wouldn't be known as the kids from that messy scandal. Where will you go? Paul asked. Does it matter? I touched his face gently, a goodbye gesture. You'll find someone new within months. You always do. And she'll think she's special, like I did, like Kayla did. Until she realizes she's just another rotation in your pattern. I closed the door on him for the last time. Then I went to my children's rooms, where they were packing their own belongings. Are we really leaving? Emma asked. We really are, baby. Good, Tyler said firmly. I'm ready for somewhere new. That night, I recorded my final message to myself, a reminder for future moments when I might be tempted to repeat old patterns. They both played with fire. Kayla, by stealing someone else's husband. Paul, by never learning that people aren't disposable. And me, by thinking revenge would heal what betrayal had broken. But I learned something they didn't. You can't win a game with someone who keeps changing the rules. You can only stop playing. So I'm walking away. Not defeated. Not destroyed. Just done. They can burn their own bridges from now on. I'm building new ones. The camera in my mind faded to black on the image of me, pregnant and powerful, walking away from the wreckage of a revenge that had taught me the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to play anymore.